Hi, I'm Jerry, Pale Moon Ranch. I just want to do a quick addendum, so to speak, of part two in this series on building or modeling an acoustic guitar in Fusion. Um, I found what I consider to be a small problem that I fixed, and I wanted to point that out. But there's also a few areas where I wanted to just make some clarifications, or more or less just to add more details to make sure that you get things set up so that the variable scale lengths work. And on that note, I will say that the variable scale on this fretboard design allows you to have a different scale length for low E versus high E, creating essentially an angled fretboard on each end of the frets. And while the fretboard has that capability, the neck does not. So that will not work on this model at this point. I may work on getting that to work at some point, but I don't really see the value of it. So I'm not sure I'll spend any time there or not. I'd much rather get on to building the fixtures and stuff we need to carve all of this on the CNC. So I'm going to set that aside and just know that while the fretboard allows for that, it is not implemented in this neck design at this time. But the variable fret geometry is, along with the variable radius is from the headstock to the heel. So with that said, the first thing I wanted to cover was the fretboard link. Let's open that up. Let's get out of there a minute and let's turn off this, and let's turn off all of this just to get it all out of the way for a moment. There you are. Oops. Okay, so I'm going to go way back to my very first sketch in this neck model, which is the fretboard link. Now, in the previous video, I said, and I did, I projected in each of these points along the fretboard edges, and then I drew in the horizontal and vertical lines. And what I noticed was, I'm going to jump over here to a previous version of the neck, and let's turn off all of this, hide that. Let's go back to that, not the same sketch, but I'm going to go back, I'm going to go to my, I'm going to roll back the timeline here to here and turn on these sketches. And what you will see is that when I get to my nut surface, let's see, let's turn off the fretboard link so we can just see this sketch. And you see that those projections, or that are on this drawing, have been broken. Fusion converted them into fixed constraint. Now I think that still worked, but I don't like it, and I'm worried that at some point it's going to pop its head. So what I did was I went back to the design, and I went back to the original, and instead of drawing in these horizontal and vertical lines, I projected them in from the fretboard. I think that's a better design decision from the get-go. 2 years ago when I built this model, I was not as experienced, let's put it that way. So I think this is a better model, and it will help with keeping everything working, so that when you change your scale and those frets compress in, it'll bring the neck geometries with it, as opposed to them getting stuck. So that's that. The next thing is the heel transition, the neck profile on the heel transition. I just wanted to clarify on this. When I talked about this in the video, I wasn't clear. I don't think that I just said this to create this arc, but I want to be clear that this is 4 separate arcs, and that's important because you need to be able to do loft between this and the next one, and this one and the next one. And if they're continuous, then you won't be able to do that. So in addition, initially we create 2 separate bodies here on the top, although later in the model phase we'll go to lofting this as a single body. We need these to be separate so that we can loft them as separate bodies, right and left sides, for our intermediate modeling purposes. Okay, and then that same thing goes for the neck contour at the transition. Again, that's 4 separate arcs. So you can do that how you want to. You can draw a single arc in here, and then you can do a break here, and a break here, and then just make sure that they're tangent to each other. And these arcs that stick down, I've dimensioned this as a 1/2 inch. It doesn't really matter how long that is. You don't want it to go all the way around. You certainly don't want it to end up, coincident to the other side of the arc. But it's in fact, you probably don't want it to go past the midplane. That might cause trouble when you go to do that loft. But you're going to loft between these, and you don't. So with that said, it also applies one more place, and that is that the neck at the contour at the nut. Where is that? Contour at the nut. The contour at the nut is a little different in that this is a continuous arc on this one. It's not split, and there's no horizontal line in this one. We don't need that. So it is 3 separate arcs. So again, it's important that this arc is separate from these 2 arcs, and then it's all tangent. Okay. That's all I wanted to cover there. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was changing the scale. So let's turn off these sketches and let's turn back on. Let's send our let's finish our sketch there. Turn this over and let's turn everything back on. And hide that. Okay, so all of that was to make sure that when we change our fret scale, that everything moves with it. And it does as far as the fretboard is concerned, but I did find a little weird thing about this that I wanted to show you so you'd know how to deal with it. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to change my fret scale. Let's change it down to like 24.6. And we have to change both. In fact, it wouldn't be a bad idea to do this. Let's make the high E scale equal to low E scale length, like that. So they stay the same. That way we only have to change to 1 because we can't use this in this model anyway. So let's just do that. I'm going to save that. Okay. Then we're going to go back over to our neck and we're going to update our parameters. And what you're going to see is that the fretboard changes, but the neck length doesn't. And it's kind of weird to me why it doesn't. but I'm going to go through all of that, so bear with me a minute here while it updates. It takes it a minute to calculate those frets out. So you see there, it didn't bring the neck length with it. And the reason for that is, let's turn off our bodies. Let's turn all of this off so you can see what I'm going to hide all of that. We'll hide the fretboard. Oh, I guess that can't. So let's go back now to, let's do a couple of things here. Let's, I might as well turn all that back on. It didn't really do me any good to turn it off because the bodies are still here. What I needed to do is just turn off my bodies. And we can turn off the bodies here as well. So if we go back to our fretboard link and we turn on that sketch, let's turn off, well, it doesn't matter, we can leave all these on. So what you can see here is that the projected lines are still where they were before. They didn't move like they should have. But the reality is that they did. If we bring in the sketch, the fretboard sketch, you can see the fretboard sketch did move, right? It is moved down here instead of being up here. I don't know, can you see that? Let's turn off these other sketches. Yeah, see here? This used to be up here at the nut. It is moved down here. But the projected in is still here. But the funny thing is that if you go to the fretboard and you update the parameters over here, let's turn on our sketches here real quick. Right? You can see I can update it, but this fretboard I believe is already updated because I updated it in the other version here. But we're going to let this update. And there's shrink, okay? So when I updated the parameters over here in our original one, it updated the body for the fretboard and made it smaller, but it did not update the sketch. You saw that when I went back over to the fretboard, it wasn't updated. But now that I've updated the fretboard over here, we can turn back on our bodies. Let's turn back on our body here too. And now, gotta go to the fretboard and save it now. Okay, go back over here, update again. We're updating the fretboard this time. You're going to see this go away after it gets done computing. We're going to discard and update, and there you have it. Let's turn off our sketches. And it works perfectly. So I don't know why it does that. To me, it seems like that's a bug in Fusion. It should have, if it was going to update the body, it should have updated the sketches as well. But maybe that's a feature in Fusion. Maybe it's a bug. I really can't tell you. But the important thing here to note is that if you change your scale, you need to first update the fretboard and then update the neck, or the when we get to the end of this neck will be jointed to the body, and you can update it from that dreadnought, the full dreadnought model. You just have to update the fretboard first. I can't think of any place else in the model where that is true, that you have to go in update the individual components. You can well, you can't see. I'm not going to show you that right now, but the end model, the dreadnought model, is made up of several components that are brought in and jointed together. And none of those other components require you to do this update, as far as I know at this point. So that's it. I just want to get those few things out there. Any questions or comments or suggestions, please let me know. I'm open to any thoughts you have. Take care. See you at the next one.